to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government
The gentlelady will
agencies-
suspend. The
how many-
gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you,
While
Chairman.
vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process,
You can
members
cut the
are
tape.
reminded
You
that we
can
must
cut the
adhere to
tape. So
established
that was
standards
Representative,
of decorum and
what's her name? Representative LaMonica McIver, who's in trouble for assaulting an ICE agent. Perhaps she's gotten out of trouble already. She should be in jail, in my opinion. These people should know better. But she's asking Todd Lyons, the ICE director, if he's concerned about going to hell. Do you think you're going to hell? That's what we just witnessed there. Now, mind you that this is a woman who is supporting illegal alien criminals that have committed rape, murder, pedophilia. This is who she's literally defending, and she has the audacity to ask Todd Lyons if he thinks he's going to hell. I mean, this is insane. What is this about? Guys, I want to lay a foundation for you. And maybe I should do this annually. I've done it when I've been on for Dennis Prager in the past, Larry Elder in the past. I want to give you some GOP history. I want to lay a foundation for you, something that people don't often do. But when it comes to voter ID, this is about empowerment. This isn't about suppression. And they know that. Democrats are running scared because voter ID means that they could lose elections. And that's what this is about ultimately. But the Democrat Party wants you to believe that the Republican Party are the racist party, that they're the party that wants to suppress the vote. That they're the party that's just full of bigotry and hatred, and they hate brown people, they minorities of all stripes, and it's just utter nonsense. Let me just share a little bit of the Republican Party's history. Carl, why does this matter? That's the history. No, this is who this party is. It frustrates me that the Republican Party never sets the tone and mentions this stuff. So let me just reiterate or recap one of the shows that I've done before extensively, and that is, let me just give you some of the Republican Party history because it's very important. Whenever I see Democrats that happen to be black calling the Republican Party racist, it's clear to me that they don't know their history or they've been duped somewhere in academia. That may be in high school, that may be in college, maybe it's been a cultural thing, but they've been duped. So let's just give you some quick history here because we've got to lay the foundation. We are not the party of racism when it comes to the Republican Party. That isn't to say there aren't some racists in the party. There isn't to say that that isn't to say that there aren't some racist Americans. America is not systemically racist. The Democrat Party is. Sue Prager said that once, and it just stuck with me. 1854, that's the wife of Dennis Prager, by the way. 1854, the Republican Party is formed to stop the spread of slavery and polygamy. In 1854 as well, the GOP opposed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, an act to spread the institution of slavery. Did you know this? In 1861, Abraham Lincoln was elected as the first Republican president. You know how many people don't realize that they happen to be black people or Latino people? They don't know that history. I mean, it's absolutely insane to me. 1863, it was Abraham Lincoln that issued the Emancipation Proclamation to free all slaves. Now, I heard one conservative recently say, and listen, he's well-intentioned. I like the guy, but I heard him say, black people hear this old history and they simply don't care about it. That's not true. I can tell you a story real quickly. When I took my truck at one point in time to get worked on, I took it to the shop to get serviced, and I rolled in, and at the time I had a Marco Rubio bumper sticker on. And I had, I believe, something else that kind of identified myself as a Republican and or conservative. And this is when Marco Rubio, if I recall correctly, was first running for the Senate. And so I pulled into the shop. This black guy, literally, he was all cool. And then he, walked around the truck. He looked at my bumper. His whole demeanor, His whole demeanor changed. He went from seeming like a nice guy to just kind of, hey, yeah, man, you know what I'm talking about. You've been there before. You've experienced that before. And so anyway, I was just cordial, and this is what I'd like done, and this and that, and blah blah blah. And he called me when he needed to call me. Hey, Mr. Jackson, this service is done, so on, etc. But before I left, one thing that I did is I made sure that I put in his hand this outline that I'm about to finish reading to you now on the history of the Republican Party. And when I came back to that dealership later, now this has not happened since, right? But I have had people contact me on air, call into the show. I've had people message me over this history that they knew nothing about that happened to be black. But when I returned to that dealership, this man looked me dead in the eye and he said, I did not know this history. True story. I've been teaching my son to hate white people. That's what he said. I couldn't believe he said it, but that's what he said. And he said, I won't do that anymore. Tears started welling up in his eyes because he had never heard this. Republican Congress passes and ratifies the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolishes slavery in the U.S. forever. So the 13th Amendment abolishes slavery, and then the Republican Congress in 1866 passes the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Everybody knows about the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They give the Democrats and Lyndon B. Johnson credit, and they say Republicans glommed onto that, which we did. But the first Civil Rights Act was actually passed in 1866 to protect the rights of newly freed slaves. And Republicans passed that. 1868, the GOP Congress passes and ratifies the 14th Amendment, recognizing the right of newly freed slaves to be U.S. citizens. So you have the 13th Amendment that freed the slaves, the 14th Amendment that gave basically slaves or freedmen at that time the ability to become U.S. citizens. And then in 1870, the Republican Congress passes and ratifies the 15th Amendment to the United States, which recognizes the right to vote for freedmen and citizens, so former slaves. In 1871, the Republican Congress passed the Anti-KKK Act. Carl, the Anti-KKK. Oh, you guys didn't know that the KKK was a terrorist arm of the Democrat Party. Confederates that would go around and terrorize black Republicans at the time, white Republicans, hang them, kill them, so that they could continue to spread across the country. At one point, at their peak, the KKK had a membership of about 4 million people. As of the turn of this century, they were down to $3,000 or $4,000, or three or 4,000, probably $3,000 or $4,000 in the bank account, but 3,000 to 4,000 members. So 4 million to 3,000 to 4,000 members at the turn of the 21st century. Don't tell me that America is systemically racist. By and large, these morons are people can't stand them. In 1875, the Republican Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1875, which is the first anti-discrimination law in the USA. 1922, Republican Leonidas Dyer. Now, Carl, where are you going with this? Guys, all of this stuff ties in. All of this stuff ties in, and it ties into voter ID as well. Because the Democrat Party has a history of keeping people in slavery, in chain, metaphorically and literally physically in American history. And so we're going to get to that because all of this, in my opinion, all of this interconnects, if you will. So 1922, Republican Leonidas Dyer passes one of the first and only anti-lynching bills through the U.S. House of Representatives. 1957. You have Republican Dwight D. Eisenhower passes through the Congress the first civil rights law in 82 years. The Civil Rights Act of 1957 created a commission of civil rights. In 1960, you had a Republican president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, passes a Civil Rights Act of 1960, which sent federal inspectors to the voter registration polls. Oh, by the way, you know that Lyndon B. Johnson voted against Dwight D. Eisenhower's Civil Rights Act earlier, and then basically co-opted it in 1964. It's just astonishing. In 1964, 83% of Republicans vote to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, an anti-discrimination law, and only 63% of Democrats voted for that law. All right. 1969, Richard Nixon, Republican president, begins the enforcement of affirmative action via the 1969 Philadelphia Plan that was crafted by the Black Republicans Art Fletcher, who became known as the father of affirmative action. So affirmative action was originally started by Republicans. 1983, Republican President Ronald Reagan made Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday a national holiday. 2001 through 2008, Republican President George W. Bush appointed more blacks to high-level positions and spent more money on education, job training, and healthcare for the poor and minorities than any president in history. And in 2011, the Republican Congress votes to refund the DC voucher school program that Barack Obama defunded. That is the Republican Party. We are a party of equal opportunity. We are not a party of racism. The Democrat Party is. We'll finish this up on the other side. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Guys, a lot of news out there, and I want to touch on a bit of all of it. So I appreciate you tuning in. I'm sorry we got a late start tonight, but I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Really do. But I wanted to set the tone with that. And now we're going to go into, I'm going to get into this Georgia voting. I told you guys I would come with the receipts. And so I'm willing to do that. I have done that. I've done my studying during the week because I wanted to make sure that you guys were informed, because I think this is the most important, frankly, I'm not a fan of getting rid of the filibuster. I believe it's worth eliminating the filibuster for the SAVE Act. And I'll talk about that. I didn't see it. I did see that there was one. You sent it on my phone. Okay. If I can open it, that would be great. Let's see here. By the way, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We would certainly appreciate that. Everywhere you go to get your podcast, like, share, and subscribe. And by the way, I do want to tell you guys about MyPillow real quickly. Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank all of you for your great support this past year. They're looking to make 2026 the best year yet. As a thank you to my listeners, MyPillow is exclusively offering free shipping on your entire order. Wow. And at wholesale pricing, that means they are bringing back the mega sale exclusively for my listeners. That's pretty cool. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, and now are marked down to $14.98. Wow. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the made in the USA MyPillow, my mattress topper, and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98, or the 6-pack towel set for $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl, that is CARL, or call them at 800-858-0263. These offers won't last long, so please call 1-800-858-0263 today. Go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl. Okay. So I'm setting the tone because, all right, let's just get back to it. Let's just get back to it. And then I am going to go to some video momentarily. 18 will be the next video that I go to. Take a swig. Okay. All right. All right. So the history of the Republican Party is extremely important. Why would a party that fought for over 100 years fighting for equality for blacks, for minorities, all of a sudden switch, and then they become the racist party. The Democrats want you to believe that somehow there was this fairy tale that occurred somewhere where the Republican Party that was the party that had fought for and freed slaves, that had fought for equality in the United States of America. All of a sudden, they had a big switch. That big switch never happened. That big switch concerns, I believe it was 21 senators, all of the senators, Democrat senators that supposedly switched in the South, went from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. That never happened. One Republican senator switched, or Democrat senator switched to Republican. That was Strom Thurmond. The rest remained in the Democrat Party. Robert KKK Byrd was one of them. One guy that Bill Clinton looked up to, Joe Biden as well. But all of this stuff is important because the left wants you to believe that what's at play here when it comes to the SAVED Act, the Save America Act, which is simply voter ID, registering people to vote with ID, making sure that they vote with ID. What the left wants you to believe that somehow that blacks and minorities will be disenfranchised. This is a bunch of nonsense. And I got all types of stuff. I was doing all types of research for you guys because I started looking back at what Trump's promises were, the RNC platform of 2024, and what President Trump is doing is basically what he promised to do. There's a lot of things yet to be done, things that are being worked on. But let me just give you a few of the first ones on the 2024 platform. As the president, now president, was then former president, was running for president again. Number one, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. This is what he ran on. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. He's getting that accomplished. We got some audio from Tom Homan that I'll play momentarily because that's going to be very important. So we'll share that momentarily. So this is what the president is doing: stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. That's going to be that is happening. That's going to be harder to do because there's so many manufacturing firms, if you will, that have been outsourced, and a lot of Americans have just not been used to doing that type of work per se. So this is going to be a slow transition back. The economic numbers are good. The job numbers were good. I understand that. Remember, last year we were in the bind with the Biden administration. Trump had to turn the economy around, but payrolls rose by 130,000 more than expected in January. And so that is a good thing. And I do believe that the economy is going to continue to get better. The question is, will the majority of voters feel it by the time the election rolls around? I hope they will. I believe they will. Now, let me get to this issue of voter ID, because again, the left wants you to believe that somehow the party now that wants voter ID is a party. I heard one lady say to Scott Jenner on CNN, "Oh, basically this is a poll tax. Getting ID is a poll tax." Yeah, I mean you can't fly you can't fly without ID. You can't take an Uber without ID. You can't buy cigarettes or alcohol. You can't open up an investment account, a savings account, checking account. There's so many things that you already need an ID for. It's an absolute joke. And frankly, the only people that don't have an ID at this point are probably homeless, crackheads, or something like that. I mean, it's just absolutely insane to me. So this is the most important issue, or at least one of the most important issues, as well as I believe this endangerment act. President Trump in another, I forget exactly what it's called. The endangerment now. Oh man, now forget it. Basically, the green scam. The endangerment findings, I believe is what it was called under President Barack Obama. I believe it was in 2009, either 2009 or 2010. Basically said, "Hey, CO2, this pollutant is dangerous and it's an existential threat, and so we need to start regulating it, and we need to start." This needs to permeate throughout regulation and all of our bureaucracies, the EPA, so on, et cetera, et cetera. The endangerment finding, that's what it was called. The endangerment finding. So Trump has busted that up. So now the Green New scam is virtually done. You're not going to be forced to buy EV cars. You're not going to be told that your carbon dioxide that's part of photosynthesis is going to kill you. I mean, this is absolutely insanity. But this is what the left has been doing. This is what they do. It's constantly fear. They either make you mad or they make you fearful. It's what the left does. So let me get to this. You guys remember now, the Democrat Party said, listen, this is about suppression. This is about suppression. Voter ID, it's all about suppression. Guys, let me take you back to case in point. The Georgia voters show just how wrong Joe Biden and his sycophants are. So this was written by Hans von Spakovsky. He's with a different think tank now, but he was at Heritage at the time. But he followed up on afterwards the 2022 midterms that occurred in Georgia. They had special elections. You guys might recall in 2020, there were elections, obviously the presidential election. Then you had the midterms in 2022. So you had Joe Biden, Stacey Abrams. You had the Major League Baseball commissioner, Robert Manfred, say that basically this was Jim Crow 2.0, the reforms that Georgia wanted to pass. And that was voter ID. That was making sure that basically when you're in line, that people couldn't go up to you if they were associated with a particular party or a particular candidate. They can't go to the line and give you water or trinkets or whatever it may be in order to try to sway your vote. So these are the little laws that they pass among some other laws that I'll get to. And so the Democrats went nuts. They went crazy. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. This is disenfranchisement. This is voter suppression. Guys, this is about making illegals vote. This is all they want. They want illegals to vote. All right. They knew that then. We know it now. I'm going to show you soon some of the states that are implemented in these automatic voter registration. It's no surprise that there's 19 of them. 18 are blue states. Not one is a red state. I don't know how that happened. It's cray-cray. But illegal immigrants get automatic voter registration when they bring some type of document into the DMV. They can get a driver's license. They're automatically registered to vote. I don't even know if they know half the time or not, but nonetheless, they are. This is what the Democrats are doing. This is the game they're playing. This is why this voter ID at the polls scare them, because illegal immigrants are probably going to be scared to show up at the polls because they were unlawfully given voter ID in the first place. So Biden and Abrams claim that the new Georgia election reform, such as ID mandate for the absentee ballot, what do you know? They falsely claim that the election reform, such as an ID requirement for absentee ballots, were Jim Crow 2.0. Where have we heard that recently? And it was deliberately intended to suppress minority voters. That's just asinine. That is just stupid. But this is the game that the Democrats play. The party of the KKK, the party that was against civil rights, wants you to believe that the party that wants you to have voter ID so there can be no cheating, so that they can't bring in a permanent underclass of voters to continue to perpetually put them in power while they redistribute your wealth to illegal immigrants that shouldn't have it. This is astonishing to me. You guys remember at the time, the MLB commissioner moved the All-Star game from Atlanta to Denver, Colorado. They end up playing the World Series probably a couple or so years later in Atlanta. So that was funny. So the idea is basically that blacks are just the idea is that blacks are just too dumb, apparently, to get voter ID. I want to play a clip for you if we have time. This is cut number 18. Let me know if we have time here, Gabe, in this block. If not, we'll roll it into the next block. Okay, so let's play cut number 18. See if we can get a gist of it anyway.
An opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad.
I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far to say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely
Blacks
to
are
have
less
the
likely to
kinds
have
of IDs that
state
have
IDs.
been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to
Wow,
DMVs
these type
or other
of
places
people,
where they can get
yeah.
identification.
You can always get IDs
Really
do
compassionate.
over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed. I also think there's
Very
a repression
compassionate
of,
white liberals.
black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African Americans.
Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people
I
their
tell you
thoughts
what,
on what you just heard.
let's hold this there. We're gonna pick this up on the other side because it's a trip. This is an oldie but goodie. Ami Horowitz, he did this probably a few years ago, and it's going viral again. And it's important that it does. So we're gonna just break down all the debunk all the lies and the nonsense and what this is really about. Voter ID isn't about suppression. Democrats just want perpetual power. No worries. Let's come right back in with that video where it left off. I didn't intend to go 3 segments with this, but so be it. Was it 18? Yes.
What opinion on voter ID? Do you know anybody who?
Maybe I should tee it up a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. So before we went to the break, we watched Ami Horowitz, and he was there interviewing a bunch of white liberals. Looked like they were on a college campus. They basically felt sorry for people that look like me, right? We don't have access to voter IDs. It's not as accessible to people like us, to these people. One young man said. Now, these are well-intentioned people. They've just been brainwashed. This is insane. Now, Ami Horowitz, you saw him talk to white liberals. Now, let's see the reaction from black, likely Democrats that he interviews. This is somewhere in New York. I don't know if this is Brooklyn, the Bronx, or wherever it may be. But let's go ahead and roll it, Gabe.
Harlem to ask
East
black
Harlem.
people
Okay.
their thoughts on what you just heard. Do you have ID normally? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. That's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
What is this, some type of trick candy cameras?
I know, right? That's the only thing I brought with me.
Those are legit IDs. I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's that, on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know how to get there?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting there if you had to get there?
No.
I know these sound like silly questions. You know how to get to the DMV?
Of course.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You can get there?
Uh-huh.
No problem.
No problem.
Just checking.
Okay.
And I also heard a lot that black people, especially poor black people, have no access to the internet, can't figure out how to use the internet.
That's just stupidity, honestly. Everybody has access to the internet. Even a little kid can figure out how to work the internet.
I had access to the internet for years.
You know how to use it properly, right?
Exactly. I do it at work. So, of course, I know how to use it. My kids know how to use it. They all have iPads, iPods, whatever.
Your phone has data?
Mm-hmm.
You can actually
Unlimited.
Unlimited data.
Mm-hmm. I use my phone as a hotspot.
What does that say to you for the people who have this perception of black people?
They're pretty much ignorant. That's why my thought process on it.
I just think that's ignorant. Ignorant.
Ignorant. That's the word I'm hearing a lot.
Ignorant.
Ignorant.
Very, very ignorant.
Does it sound racist for somebody to say that?
I think it is a little racist because, you're putting people in a category and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe a little bit of racist in it, but like I said, I think it's more stupidity and ignorance.
You're judging somebody, but you're judging them because they're black, saying that they don't got it.
What people are they talking to?
Who are these people talking to?
Do you have a problem that if you go to vote and they say, "Can we please see your ID to
All
make
right,
sure
we can
you are
cut
who
it.
you
I
say
mean,
you are?"
you basically
love showing my ID.
You got no problem with that?
Nope.
Would you have a
you get the idea. It's silliness. So what's crazy to me is those white liberals and many of these blacks will vote for the same party. Meanwhile, the white liberals are saying these blacks that we just showed are just too dumb, too stupid to have ID, or too poor, they can't get access to it, so on, etc. So what is this really about? This all comes down to illegal immigration. Why do you think Minneapolis, the people there are going absolutely nuts? It's because of illegal immigration. It's illegal immigration. They need illegals. Democrats need illegals. It's as simple as that. But let's go back through this. Just recap what happened with this Georgia voting law. So remember, you had Biden, Stacey Abrams, Jim Crow 2.0, the MLB commissioner Robert Manfred. Okay, I can't deal with this racism, so on in Georgia. Blah blah blah. He wanted to strike back against against Georgia and Republicans. Okay, well, so we're moving the All-Star game. You had the ACLU filing lawsuits alleging that the changes in the election law would disenfranchise Black Georgians and suppress their votes. And then you had the Biden Justice Department. They jumped in, filing their own lawsuit at the time, claiming that reforms such as requiring an ID would abridge the right of Black Georgians to vote. Notice how it's no other race. Now they try to add in, as of late, you'll hear all brown people. They try to include all brown people, but I hate that because even white people, so to speak, are a shade of brown. Don't let them do that. I mean, this is the way that the left continues to continue to divide us. I hate when they say people of color because the goal is to exclude white people. All right, so don't fall into their language trap. But there was a survey that was conducted by the University of Georgia at the time as well. And then there was also election data that was compiled by Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger on voter turnout at the time. And let me just read you some of the results from the survey. So the survey from the Research Center of the School of Public and International Affairs at the University of Georgia found that in 2022, in the midterms, when Georgia implemented these election integrity reforms, this is what happened. All right. The University of Georgia found that precisely 0% of Black respondents said that they had a poor experience voting in 2022. 0%. In fact, Hans von Spakovsky, formerly of the Heritage Foundation, writes, in fact, 96.2% of Black voters said their voting experience was excellent or good. So what the Republicans did is they clamped down on voter ID. They said that people couldn't be, trying to persuade or sway you to vote while you're sitting in line. They can't hand you water. And, at the time, Democrats were trying to say, oh, you can't even drink water in line. You can drink water. You can take your own water. You can take whatever you want. Take a Gatorade for all you want. But you can't have political activists. You can't have party apparatchiks trying to give you liquid because you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to bribe you, essentially. And so none of that. Here's another thing. When asked to compare their voting experience in the 2022 midterm to the 2020 election, over 19% of Black voters said their voting experience was actually easier with the election integrity reforms. 72.5% said there was no difference. That makes for a total of 91.6%. That compares to 13.3% of white voters who said they had an easier experience in 2022. And 80.1% who said they saw no difference, for a total of 93.4. So virtually no difference between white and Black voters when Georgia implemented these election integrity laws, except to say that a larger percentage of Black voters actually than white voters reported that their voting experience was actually better. In 2022, Georgians cast more votes than any midterm in the state's history. Did you catch that? Once the election integrity reforms passed, with Black voters making up 48% of this increase since 2000. That was according to the Pew Research Center. Another thing that they did is they shortened early voting times. All right. So among the many Georgia records broken were the number of early votes cast and the turnaround time taken to count them, early votes being one of the many areas that Biden and Abrams complained about, although their claim of shorter period of early voting was factually wrong. Wait times actually decreased. Abrams claimed voter suppression because of excessive wait times as well for black voters. But the data once again told another story. 68.7% of black voters reported that they had no wait time at all or had to wait less than 10 minutes. Another 27.3% said they waited only 10 to 30 minutes. That means that 96% of black voters voted within 30 minutes of getting to the polls. As for white voters, 95.2%. It's funny. Blacks had a slightly better experience, easier experience, according to the polls, than whites did in Georgia. So what's really going on? What's really going on? Is it just the left thinks you're dumb? Do we have time for cut number 20? I want to take you back. A blast from the past. This is Kamala Harris, cut 20. Because if you live in rural America, Democrats think you're dumb too. It's not just black people that they think are dumb. If you're a white country redneck in rural America, Democrats think you're too dumb to get voter ID too. Here's cut number 20.
Is agreeing to voter ID one of those compromises that you'd support?
I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't, there's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are. Of course, people have to prove who they are, but not in a way that makes it almost impossible for them to prove who they are.
Okay, so they think you're dumb. That's coming from Kamala Harris, but they think you're dumb. You live in rural America, you happen to be black, the Democrat Party thinks you're too dumb to have voter ID. But again, it's way more sinister than that because this is about illegal alien votes. And I got to get to that. I'm going to get to that next because this is extremely important. I tried to build the foundation. I set the table. Who is the racist party? It's definitely not the Republican Party. When Democrats said that, listen, voter ID is about voter suppression. No, it's about voter empowerment. And Georgia proved that. And now I'm going to show you what this is all really about. And that is about illegal aliens voting because Democrats can't win without them. Man. Yeah, I think so. How many is that so far? Is that 2? Man, I thought I would do 2 and 2. So crazy. Okay. Yeah. But I'm going to do crap. I wanted to do a separate podcast on trans. But yeah, I may do 2 more after this. I may do a total of 6. Man, it's frustrating. But this is what happens when you're... Yeah, you don't realize how much brilliance is stored up in you at any given time. Okay. Take another sip here. Oh, man. Okay. So the Georgia voters, history there. I need to keep that history together. Okay. All right. I is ready. All right, so welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, this is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe our podcast or to our podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Salem Podcast Network, you name it, wherever you go to get your podcast, The Carl Jackson Show. And please, all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find them. So what is this really about? What is the voter ID nonsense really about? I'll tell you what it's about, and you know what it's about. You know this is about illegal aliens voting. There was a great column in AMAC that I want to get to momentarily. The Save Act looms over lying Democrats is the name of the column. But before I do that, let's do this. Let's go to cut number 28 if we could. This is Tom Homan. Tom Homan is wrapping up operations in Minneapolis because they went after the worst first there. But remember the pushback that he was getting. Remember the Renee Good that was shot and killed by ICE agents. You had Alex Preddy that was shot and killed by ICE agents, activists that were part of ICE Watch that literally existed to antagonize law enforcement operations, interfere in law enforcement operations, obstruct law enforcement operations. And then you had the mayor, Mayor Fry, you had Governor Tim Walz, you had AG Keith Ellison, who was on the Hill this week, going at it, going back and forth with Republicans. That guy should be in prison. Hopefully, one day he will be for his corruption, accepting bribes, for, campaign money, so on, etc. But we'll get into that. But here's what Tom Homan had to say in cut number 28, and I'm going to bring this full circle. Cut number 28, please, Gabe.
For those that say we are backing down from immigration enforcement or the promise of mass deportations, you are simply wrong. Look at the data. Record number of arrests and deportations under President Trump's first year. And we'll continue that effort. Prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats doesn't mean we'll forget about everybody else. We will take action on everybody else. That's just a stone cold fact.
All right, so this is why you got the pushback from the left. They need illegal aliens to win. I'm convinced to win states. I'm convinced that there are blue states that wouldn't be blue states. Perhaps they beat purple, or at least they would be more competitive were it not for illegal immigrants voting. This is why Joe Biden literally dispersed over 10 million illegal immigrants, imported 10 million illegal immigrants into the interior of the United States and dispersed them across the country, particularly in blue states, to ramp up House seats, so that you have more heads that are counted in the census. You get more representation. You get more federal funding, perhaps more electoral votes. That's what this was all about. Now, AMAC wrote this column, The Save Act Looms Over Lying Democrats. So again, the last time we heard of the Jim Crow 2.0, we talked about this earlier, was with Joe Biden. And now you hear Chuck U. Schumer talking about it. But let me talk to you about the SAVE Act. Again, this was passed originally in April of 2025. And thank God the House has now passed it. So all of you out there, please call your senator, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. Tell your senator, we got to get this thing over the line. You should be required. You should have ID in order to vote. We want to make sure that you're not cheating. It's as simple as that. The only reason you wouldn't want ID is to cheat. So it would amend now what the SAVE Act would do is it would amend the National Voter Registration Act by requiring states to obtain documentary proof of citizenship that complies with the Real ID Act of 2021. So these are acts that were already in place. So you got a Real ID Act of 2021. You have the National Voter Registration Act that would be amended, again, requiring states to obtain documentary proof of citizenship. I know some of you are, well, the federal government can't tell states what to do as far as elections are concerned. Au contraire, mon frere, I'll get to that momentarily. That is not true. That is not in the Constitution unless you read just part of it. So Schumer said that this bill would be DOA in the Senate. As a matter of fact, he said, if you're one of the tens of millions of U.S. citizens who does not have access to your birth certificate, or if you're one of the 50% of Americans who don't have a passport, the SAVE Act could make it impossible for you to participate in elections. It would lead to massive purges that inevitably remove legitimate citizens who have the right to vote from voter rolls. The SAVE Act is dead on arrival in the Senate. Who do you know that doesn't have a birth certificate? And when do you ever use a birth certificate to go vote? That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. I mean, this is ridiculous. All right, so Here's what Schumer is really concerned about. The citizens that Schumer wants to protect from being purged, we all know, are illegal aliens that unlawfully able to vote via the automatic voter registration. You guys ever heard of this AVR? While interacting with state agencies. So AVR didn't exist until 2015. So what is AVR? Again, that is automatic voter registration. I had man, oh, Christian Anderson, J. Christian Adams. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name. Forgive me. J. Christian Adams on, and we discussed this before. So you can find out how many illegals are out there or that are eligible to vote by going to the DMV and looking at the automatic voter registration. That's what some of these blue states are doing. So again, this didn't exist in 2015. Oregon was the first state. It would be a lefty nut job, Oregon, to automatically register voters using information from its DMV. A decade later, the National Conference of State Legislators, called the NCSL, reports that AVR has rapidly metastasized. Listen to this. All of the states that have implemented AVR, that's automatic voter registration. So illegals, if they're in blue states, they can go into a DMV. That DMV in a blue state will allow them to get voter ID, will allow them to get a driver's license. They're automatically registered to vote, whether they sign up or not. They're automatically registered to vote. I mean, it's just amazing. So here's the states. Oregon has been the longest state to do it, yet its system was still registering non-citizens as recently as 2024. That's got to stop. That's got to stop. That's why the SAVE Act is so important. Guys, what I spoke about earlier, this endangerment finding, because the left was using that to scare people into compliance. That's what the Green New Scam is about, scaring people into compliance, getting them into EVs or into public transportation, keeping Democrats in power because they virtue signal the sky is falling, and then you get those crazy voters like the white liberals that believe that that blacks can't get voter ID or can't get ID, obtain ID, and oh my lord, the sky is falling. Let's keep voting Democrats because these Republicans, they don't care about blacks, even though we freed the slaves. Passed the Civil Rights Act, so on, etc. The Jim Crow South were all Democrats, and then they lied about a big switch that never happened. But they also try to scare the bejeebers out of you with stuff like the Green New Scam, as Trump calls it. Now, 19 states and the District of Columbia enacted laws to allow unauthorized immigrants, in other words, illegals, to obtain driver's licenses. Listen to the states that are included: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington. So it's funny. It's funny how they weren't so worried about voter ID until these states started passing these automatic voter registration laws, and now all of these blue states are falling in line. All right, so the column goes on to say, will immediately be obvious that all of these states are blue, controlled by Democrats. Moreover, it's no coincidence that this list largely overlaps with the states that have refused to comply with DOJ requests for voter roll data pursuant to the National Voter Registration Act, Help America Vote Act. You know what I did too? Let's see if I can find it in my firmly fingerprinted fingertips. I had pulled up the electoral votes. Let's see if I can find it. I pulled up the electoral votes here from Ballotpedia to look at some of the. So California, 54 electoral votes. 54 electoral votes. I mean, that's a huge chunk. Colorado, where's Colorado? 10 electoral votes. 538 total amount needed. So what is it to win? Is it two? Man, I forget the number. I can't do the math on top of my head at this moment. You got Connecticut, 7 electoral votes. You're talking about states with pretty big electoral votes, but particularly California. So California, Democrats automatically win California. Democrats automatically win California. Why? You don't have to show voter ID. You can show up at these places. You can mail in ballots. You can show up and vote. You don't have to show proof of ID. As a matter of fact, I don't even think you're allowed to do so. But this is what it's all about: securing these electoral votes. This is what this is all about. And Democrats are playing this well. They are playing this well, and we got to make sure. We have to make sure that the Save America Act is passed. Again, guys, I told you, I gave you the history, I laid it all out for you. I showed you the platform, who the Republican Party really is. We talked about why the Democrats don't want the Save Act. We told you how voter ID actually empowers blacks, not suppresses them. We gave you the examples of Georgia. What are Democrats up to? Keeping another class of people, Latino people primarily, in their grasp. Perpetual poverty, perpetual slavery, perpetual. Man, thank you. I thought I heard 20. Oh my God. I was like, the last I heard was 20. All right, my bad. All right. Anyway, hopefully they got the gist of that. All right, so that's one. I guess we could use all four of those. Man, that sucks because I really wanted the tranny fight. But I'll just do a quick one on tranny. Well, nah. Let's just do it now. We can save it for. Let's save it for. Oh, crap. Yeah, we're gonna have to use all four of those. Otherwise, this won't make sense. Oh well. All right, let's just we'll go with the tranny stuff. First, let's start with Guthrie. Cut number 2022. Yeah, just so I don't know what the latest update is on this, to be honest. I don't know if anything broke. I guess I should look. Um, 22. I'm just gonna give a quick, yeah. All right, I'm ready. I as ready as they say. Yeah. All right, so that was the video. Obviously, earlier this week, you saw what appears to be the assailant perpetrator that may have abducted Nancy Guthrie. Continue to keep her obviously in your prayers, and I mean, there's nothing anyone can do at this point except hope that the FBI are able to find this guy and grab this guy. There has been some good news, obviously, that they were able to get a hold of a pair of gloves that may or may not have been involved in the crime. I hope they are. If they are, perhaps they will have the DNA of the assailant on them. In them, perhaps they'll have the DNA of Nancy Guthrie on them. And let's hope that we catch this guy. This is so extremely important. So remember to keep these people in your prayers, the Guthrie family, and obviously victims of crime in general. I know people are like, listen, she's getting a lot of attention, and yes, they are. And there should be more attention paid to the people that are killed on the streets every day, whether that's Chicago, Los Angeles, Camden, New Jersey, wherever it may be. There's no doubt about it. But I do believe this particular case is warranted as is warranted as well. And I'm hoping that it comes to a close and they're able to catch the bad guy. Guys, I want to get into this issue with this trans issue. There was I hope I have there's a trans shooter, obviously in Canada. They killed a lot of people, and this is frustrating because I don't believe that it is compassionate to accept transgenderism. I don't. That's gonna offend some people out there. I know. I'm sorry. I'm here to just shoot straight with you. I think that it is not compassionate. I don't believe that it is compassionate to accept transgenderism. I think you do a lot of damage, and sadly, a lot of damage. These people, in my opinion, have been used for political means. I believe that it is more compassionate to tell them the truth. This is it's absolutely insane to me how far we've gone down the road when it comes to trans people, and we're this is not good. I want to play a cut. This is cut number 21. This is Governor Andy Beshear. Governor Andy Beshear is going to be running for the presidency. There's no doubt in my mind. A lot of people assume that he's a moderate. I don't believe he's a moderate. Maybe he's governed as a moderate in Kentucky. I haven't paid close enough attention, but he said some wacky stuff on The View. I want you to hear what he had to say. Let's play cut number 21, please, Gabe.
People want to know what drives us, especially in a world with social media where everyone's looking for the next authentic thing. For me, that's my faith. Most of the decisions I make are based on that golden rule that says we love our neighbor as ourselves, and that parable of the Good Samaritan that says everyone is our neighbor. And so when I've taken actions like vetoing the nastiest piece of anti-LGBTQ legislation that ever came through my state, I described it in those terms. I said my faith teaches me that all children are children of God. And I didn't want people picking on those kids.
Okay, what a moron. And honestly, I'm surprised he wasn't struck by lightning. We got to be careful when we do that. Does his faith teach him that the Bible says that God created them male and female? Does the faith teach him Romans 13, where if a man lies with a man, a woman lies with a woman, that is sin? Where in the Bible does the Lord teach a grown behind man to tell children to chop their body parts off? Where is that? I should love my neighbor. What's compassionate about when the Bible says that the Lord knows every hair on a person's head? When the Bible tells us that God knew you before you were even born, meaning He has a purpose and a plan for you. You don't have to change your sex. This is fascinating to me. I do believe that a lot of this is social contagion. I do believe that a lot of this has to do with the COVID lockdowns that occurred, and so many people, so many young people were on social media, TikTok, so on, and etc., and just getting brainwashed with a lot of this nonsense. We've seen the numbers drastically of people that are claiming to be trans drastically reduced, but at the same token, the people that do suffer with gender dysphoria do have a mental disorder, and frankly, if they're treated, things could go awry. They can be dangerous. You have this shooter again in Canada, and I got to get where's the Canadian? Let's play cut number 25. Let's play this as well. Cut number 25. This is the Canadian police. They reveal that they are respecting the gunman's preferred gender pronouns. Let's roll that real quick, please.
We're not hiding it. In fact, you're the first media to ask the question. I will say this. We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and
Okay, so Jesse, and I identified as a female. Jesse's a dude. This is so ridiculous. For one, what if you're chasing a suspect? What if you're trying to locate a suspect that has committed a horrendous crime like this murderer did, and you can't even give an accurate description? Are we looking for a man? Are we looking for a female? Oh, we're looking for a female. And then you see it's a dude. You pass up the dude. You don't call the cops because you think you're looking for a female when you're really looking for a dude. This is crazy. This is asinine. And helping people to advance in their dysphoria instead of getting them the help that they need, that's not compassionate. That's not loving at all. Andy Bashir is just saying that because he's trying to score cool points with all of these people that want to virtue signal and feel good about themselves. They never step into a church. They never read the Bible. They don't care about the Bible until Andy Bashir says something like that. And they're like, oh, yeah, they clap like seals, not knowing the context of what the guy is even saying. I mean, it's just insane. So the death toll is down to 9 people, including, and this is the Canadian the shooting in Canada, including the suspect after a female victim with significant injuries survived. 39-year-old found deceased at the suspect's family residence was the mother of the suspect, and the 11-year-old victim was the suspect's stepbrother. The deaths at the private residence occurred first before the suspect went to the high school. Police were called to the home after they had been called to the school by a female youth who is related to the suspect and victims. Those killed at the school were a 39-year-old teacher, 3 12-year-old female students, two male students and aged 12 and 13. One victim was found in the stairwell. The others were located in the school's library. Two firearms were recovered at the scene, a long gun and a modified handgun. Police are still working to determine their origins and role in the incident. The suspect had a firearms license. It had expired in 2024, and it didn't currently have any firearms registered. And they say this is the Guardian. They said to her, lying to people, to him. If you see the picture of Homeboy, I mean, he looks like Puck, the old cartoon character. The suspect had dropped out of Tumbler Ridge Secondary School about 4 years ago, and he was not currently a student there. There is no information at this point to suggest that any other victims in the school were specifically targeted. Police had attended the suspect's family residence on multiple occasions over the past several years, dealing with mental health concerns of the suspect. I don't know how he was able to get his hands on a firearm. This included one police attendance to the home approximately 2 years ago, where firearms, were seized under the criminal code. The lawful owner of those firearms, and I'm a Second Amendment guy. I hate guns being taken away. If you know someone has a history of mental illness, that's just insane. The lawful owner of those firearms petitioned for them to be returned. Oh, and they were. The suspect was born a biological male. Well, you know what? He's still a biological male. I mean, honestly, the most compassionate thing that you can do when it comes to the trans community is not to be accepting, but to be intolerant. And it's not because you hate them. It's not because you're not loving. No, I would argue it's because you are loving. It's because they were born as a unique individual that God created them as. And you have a world outside of them that are saying you should change, you can change. The people that say that are never going to chop off their body parts. They haven't chopped off their body parts. They're not going to endure the mental anguish that a lot of these people endure. Suicide rates are exceptionally high amongst the transgender community. They get these surgeries. Many of them want to detransition. There's a lot of detransitioners out there that can't even get airtime because the left doesn't want to share their stories of how they regret going under the knife. And the surgeries are so insane. What they do to young boys wanting to be girls, where they chop their organ off, create a hole, and it's almost like an earring piercing. Forgive me for being a little graphic here, where you have to stick some type of material in there in order for the wound to heal, and the wound doesn't really heal. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. It gets even more graphic, but that was probably more graphic that I should have gotten, quite frankly. So no, I'm sorry. That is not compassionate. Telling a person that they're not the person that God created them to be is not compassionate. It is straight out mean. And it's doing a lot of damage to society. A lot of these murderers, these shooters, are turning out to be trans. Why? It's insane. We'll be back. I did that time. So we did that one. I felt like there was another trans one. Man, I hadn't seen this. I just want to play this for cut number 35, just because I want to make sure that people hear this. What else do I want to get into with the trans issue? Had a couple. Man, where is it at? Just a sec. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Mine is fried. Yes, baby rose. Oh, where was this? Oh, okay. Okay. Let's do this. Ouch. All right, one more, Gabe. I think I'm ready. Are you there? Okay. All right, welcome back to the program. Again, you're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe, like, share, and subscribe to our show. That is anywhere you go to get your podcast, honestly. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Salem Podcast Network. Like, share, and subscribe. All things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. Guys, I almost forgot this in an earlier podcast. I just want to play it. I just think it's so important. One of the things that we talked earlier about the voting, Democrats basically needing illegals to vote. This is why they're allowing these automatic voter registration at the DMV in 19 states that are run by Democrats. Actually, one Utah run by Republicans, but 18 that are run by Democrats, where literally they will allow illegals to get a driver's license and they will automatically register them. So you bombard the country with over 10 million illegals. You send them to these different states. Then what do you think is going to happen? These Democrats are going to stay in perpetual power. It'll be like California, where you have so many illegals that are able to vote that Republicans can't win it back. The illegals will continue to vote for Democrats because they get goodies. They don't have to leave the state. They don't have to be deported, so on, etc. This is what the Democrats are trying to do. However, I want to show something that we don't talk about. Remember, there were over 300,000 kids brought into the interior of the United States of America, likely many of them likely being sex trafficked, used for slave labor or what have you. I think it's close to 150 or so thousand of them have been recovered as of a couple of weeks ago, at least according to Tom Homan. But now, in this cut number 35, before we get back to the trans issue, I want to share this video with you, if we could. Cut number 35, how many children have been rescued in the state of Minnesota alone thus far?
In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children.
Man.
Children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because of the leadership of President Trump, these children were located.
3,364 children. The left will talk about Alex Preddy. The left will talk about Renee Good. They won't talk about, especially in Minneapolis and Minnesota, they won't talk about the 3,364 children that were probably living in the worst conditions under the worst circumstances, courtesy of Democrats in the Biden administration. They don't care about these kids. They care about trans kids. These people are sick. These people are twisted. Here's another story. I mean, this one would have just given. I mean, this story is so ridiculous. It is. I can't believe that it's real, but it is. There's basically an Olympic skier. Now, this story is from MSN.com. All right, so Swedish skier Ellis Lundholm has made history. Now, listen to this. As the first openly transgender athlete to compete in the Winter Olympics. Lundholm, 23, a transgender man. That means she's a woman. Was announced last month as a member of the women's freestyle skiing division under current International Olympic Committee. Did you catch that? So let me just read that again. Swedish skier Ellis Lundholm has made history as the first openly transgender athlete to compete in the Winter Olympics. Lundholm, again, 23 years old, a transgender man, meaning a woman pretending to be a man, was announced last month as a member of the women's freestyle skiing division under current International Olympic Committee. Okay, so you have a woman pretending to be a man that wants to be a man, yet when it came to the Olympics, she wanted to ski with her fellow chicas. Yet MSN is saying she made history. No, she didn't make history. It's a chick skiing with her peers. She didn't make history. Lundholm is also the only openly trans athlete to compete in the 2026 Milan Cortina Olympics. The mogul skier's participation on the women's team comes as part of the IOC's 2021, quote, framework on fairness, inclusion, and non-discrimination on the basis of gender, identity, and sex variations, which includes 10 principles and recommendations for each sport to consider for eligibility requirements. So why do you think it is that she decided not to ski against men? Is it, we all know the answer, because she would have lost, and she would have lost badly. This is the open secret that everyone knows. And I don't know why people will continue to gaslight against this nonsense. Again, you're seeing more of these mass shooters turning out to be trans people, and we're trying to stay silent. What's going on? I believe the left is literally, I believe a lot of these people are being weaponized online, whether that's intentional or whether they're getting on there themselves. They hear this nonsense, just like the left constantly says that Democrats are, or ICE are the Nazi and Gestapo, and Trump is a Nazi, and Trump is Hitler. And then you've got all these people on the left that are claiming, Republicans are out to get them, conservatives are out to get them, Christians are out to get them. And these people have a vendetta. These people are out of their minds many times. Forgive me for, listen, I'm just shooting straight here, and they need help. They need true love, not people that are so scared to speak the truth. Oh, your truth might, no, there's no such thing as your truth or my truth. There's only objective truth. And the best way to be compassionate towards people is to allow them to be the person that God created them to be. That's the only way that they can be unique. That's the only way that they can be whole. It's just astonishing to me. But that skier, Ellis Lundholm, if the left blows that story up, people are just going to scratch their heads. It hasn't gotten as much attention outside of conservative media as it should, in my opinion. And that reason is simple. It will blow up the party. It will blow up the game. Oh, you mean a chick pretending to be a male wants to compete with fellow chicas so that she stands a chance of winning? Yeah. But she's somehow historic. A historic athlete. No, she's not. She's a female competing in a female category. This is what the left does. Before I run out of time, I want to make sure that I share this. There was on a different topic. This was Keith Ellison and AG. If I could go back to Minneapolis real quick. Let's play this. Let's play cut number 30, if we could. This is Senator Josh Hawley and Keith Ellison going back and forth on some hearings on the Hill this week that I think are extremely, extremely important. And again, remember what the left wants to do as far as votes are concerned that we spoke about earlier. They need illegals to win. This is why Keith Ellison, Mayor Fry, Governor Tim Walz were fighting so hard beyond the corruption to keep illegals and keep ICE out of Minneapolis. Cut number 30, please, Gabe.
Whistleblowers came to you as early as 2019. Let's look. As early as 2019, whistleblower. Don't talk over me.
No,
as
no,
early as 2019, it's my hearing, pal. As early as 2019.
Don't call me
whistleblowers came to, well, I should call you prisoner because you ought to be in jail.
Well, we'll see what you can do about it.
Then there was Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, who also got into a heated exchange with Ellison, this time about signal chats being used by anti-ICE agitators to coordinate in Minnesota. Ellison said he's aware of those chats, but they're just freedom of speech.
So I freely admit being in favor of the First Amendment.
And two people are dead because you encouraged them to put themselves into harm's way. And now you're exploiting those two martyrs. A tragedy was going to happen, and you encouraged it. And you ought to feel damn guilty about it. Smirk. It's sick. It is despicable.
Are you asking me for comment, Senator? Because everything you said was untrue. It was a nice theatrical performance, but it was all lies.
All right, so you can cut the video.
Senator
This
Bernie
is, guys, this is why you have to pass the SAVE Act. These people are literally using illegals to stay in power. The guy is on tape. Basically, a quid pro quo with a Somali. Hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You donate to my campaign. Somebody that's getting caught up in fraud, getting money. This is the way things are rolling. Republicans have to stop playing games. They got to pass the SAVE Act. We got to stop pretending that men can be women and women can be men. We got to call this nonsense out as well. But man, we are just living in some crazy times, and we got to continue to fight back. I'm frustrated about this Keith Ellison issue. I had more videos to show you, just don't have time to do it because, frankly, these people need to be in jail, and Republicans better start taking this stuff seriously. I'm tired of the investigations. I'm tired of the hearings. I want to see these people in jail. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you. Sure. Yes. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate you being out there. We got a late start tonight, and I should have mentioned this on air, but I appreciate you being out there. My mother-in-law went into eternity tonight, so just pray for my wife and her family. Really appreciate that. Thank you guys for being out there.